looking at the linebackers, James Skalski wasn't able to stay on the field for the final half against Ohio State. That's the last time we saw him, was taking a shot at Justin Fields. And so the linebackers, how do they set up with, of course, Mike Jones moving on to LSU?
I think this linebacker core is going to be really good. Skalski's another guy that stayed hurt a lot of last season, and he's a guy that is really, you could listen to him talk during the spring. He is really taking the performance in that Ohio State game personally, and listening to all those other guys on the defense talk, he doesn't let them forget it either. He reminds them of it. They're using it as motivation, kind of the way Ohio State used the loss to Clemson in 2019 as motivation last year. Clemson's turning it around and doing that themselves. But I expect Skalski to be Skalski. He's not this elite level talented guy, but he knows the ins and outs of Venables' defense. He knows where to be. He knows where to line up. He knows his responsibilities. He knows everybody else's responsibilities. He's the quarterback of that defense. Trenton Simpson, that's who I expect to, replace Mike Jones Jr. over there in that Sam. He can play inside some too, but this is a former 5-star guy, and I think at least he started playing more and more as the season progressed last year. And after Mike Jones came back from his injury, he started playing a little less and a little less and a little less. And I think the writing was kind of on the wall for him. I know he wanted to play inside more too, but Simpson was just going to be too hard to keep off the field. He's just that good. And he showed it down the stretch last season. He's going to be really good. And then they got Baylen Specter coming back too. Nobody ever talks about Specter. But like Skalski, he's not this former 5-star guy. But he knows he's just a football player. He's got a high football IQ. He's got a nonstop motor. And he just makes plays. And even behind those guys, this is going to be a deep group of linebackers. Levonte Bentley, he's going into his 3rd season, and it's taking a little bit longer for the light to come on for him. I think he's another guy who shut down hurt last year, kind of slowed down his development. I expect to see him get on the field more this season. This is a very talented linebacker, and depth's played a part in keeping him off the field. And but yeah, name some more of those guys.
Got Bentley, Malcolm Green.
Malcolm Green, he's a nickel guy. He was a freshman last year. I expect him to be on the field a lot this year. He's probably more of a safety type nickel guy than a linebacker, but he's going to be a big part of Venables' defense. We'll talk about safety in a minute, but yeah, I'm real high on Malcolm Green. I think he's got a bright future.
Jake Venables?
Venables was another guy that was hurt last year. Skalski's back up, broke his arm, I think it was, and he'll be back fully healthy this year. He's another guy, he's not the former 5-star, but he knows his responsibility. He's usually where he's supposed to be. He rarely takes bad angles. He's solid in run defense most of the time. He should even be a little bit better this year.
Baylen Specter racked up 64 tackles to lead the team last year, 10.5 tackles for loss and 4.5 sacks. And you mentioned Simpson, even though he didn't play a ton, he still made plays in the backfield. 4 sacks, 6.5 tackles for loss on his 28 stops.
Yeah, I'm real high on Simpson. I think he's going to be a force on this defense this year. I'm not saying he's like Isaiah Simmons, but Venables will be able to use him in a bunch of different ways, kind of similar to the way he used Simmons. He can line up in multiple spots on the field.